Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you, Meryl, for that super nice intro. Tama si Meryl is actually one of my best friends. And that's a connection right there, di ba? And I'm really excited to talk to you about this today because, well, similar to what she said, I have always been passionate about building connections. And it wasn't even something that I realized was something that could be beneficial to anyone entering, not just entering a career, but building a career. Like I had always loved people, pero iba pa rin yung parang once you start connecting the dots and putting things together and when you get excited about your work, when you're actually in the middle of your career and you meet everyone and you're trying to build things, this comes into play. So a little bit about again, the topic today is building rewarding connections. And I'm really excited to be here with Job, which is going to be the ultimate connector of the Philippines, the ultimate connector of these opportunities, and hopefully not just the Philippines, but of Asia as well, or even the world. Okay, so again, this is a special topic for me because I've always loved connecting new people and without even realizing it. And it was something that I had always done. And in doing, and doing the outline for this talk, I want to share with you guys some of the practices that I, without realizing it, have been doing all my life, ever since I was like 7 or something. So, can I just, for those of you who are here and like, actively listening, or even if you're passively listening, let me know if you can in the chats. Parang, do you guys love people? I mean, are you lovers of people and connecting with people and meeting new people? So, just let me know if you guys are that, that kind of person. If you are, then this talk is for you. If you're not, then maybe things or building rewarding connections will be a little bit more intentional, and that's okay. So unfortunately, I can't super see the chat right now. I wait lang. Hold on. I can make it work. Yes. Okay. So Jeremy says yes, but they do not love me yet. And that's okay, Jeremy. Rara says sometimes, and I sense yes. I super it's nice to see that there are a lot of people who will naturally be connectors here. So yeah, so a little bit about myself, and I think it's important. I'm what you call a chief business transformation officer for this group of made of many, many people called Activasia Inc. and the different groups of companies. And like what Meryl said, I'm a co-founder of these groups. And that didn't come out of nowhere. It was actually because of connections that I got here. But apart from that, I'm also a wife and cat mom. Hello to my husband. I am a jump rope hobbyist. I'm a spin coach. I am an alumni association board member, a daughter and sister, business development director, kabarkada, marketing consultant, entrepreneur. And it's not just, because I listed it here that I have many roles, diba? We all have so many roles that we fulfill. And if you can imagine, dito pala, parang when you start to try and list down those roles, you realize, ang dami mo palang connections, diba? So, okay, I just want to share with you guys, my career in logo. So, put this together. I started by like I was a student in St. Paul College, Pasig for a long time. Meryl was with me too. I think I entered when I was 4 or something. And bata pa lang ako, I was really into like joining orgs. In fact, like I made it very deliberate to meet people. And I joined as many clubs as I could. I even ran for student council. In fact, Meryl and I were together in student council even then. And I wanted to meet a lot of people. So I joined dancing because of that. So very early on, from dancing to math competitions to whatever, for me, it was about meeting as many people as possible. So at some point when I was in high school, I was part of the NLTSGO, or the National Student Government, which then inspired me to go to Ateneo. It was the primary reason why I went to Ateneo. I wanted to be part of the team that made all these DepEd programs. And then together with some of you here, like Coco and Ian, we were together in this org called Ateneo Code, which and then I was also part of other groups. that ultimately helped me get into Unilever as an intern. And from there, I joined Shell. I got into a really good program in Shell, eventually joined ActiveAsia, got connected to Rex to Riches, of which I'm a partner as well. And then we formed AHA. We formed a company called AdLib. And then I joined this wonderful group called the FAME, or the Ateneo Management Engineers, which is an alumni association. I needed to get fit, so I took part-time spinning, and then through there I met my partners at this. I mean this startup that we call Flow Fatigue, and we just launched on Lazada recently. And it was in my experience in Flow Fatigue that led me to a new thing that I'm about to enter, which is a startup or a venture that will bring in health and fitness products. And our first brand is Ancient and Brave. So that's my career in logos. And it looks linear, right? If you look at it from right to left. But the reality is, this, if I map it out, it has always really been a career in connections. And I might have started out in St. Paul, but there were certain things that led from one thing to another. I think what people say these days is nanganganak yung opportunities. You meet one person that introduces you to another. You do one thing that makes you excited about another, and before you know it, all your interests are connected, and they're become this web of existing thing. So I don't know. I mean, I suggest that you guys also make a web of connections yourself, and in logos, it's fun to do. So, but really, if you think about it, parang logos are just representations of the groups that they get together, and these logos are actually made up of real people behind them, and some of whom are in the photos here. So a lot of the relationships I had taken care of, without realizing it, because I love them as friends, became clients, became partners, became people that I still work with today. And there's a reason for that. It's because you're always on the lookout for these connections, and if you're always on the lookout and you cherish and you understand the value of these connections, then it will be natural to you to always look at your network whenever you have an opportunity in front of you. All right. So that was my world, but I'm sure if you try this exercise, you will see that it kind of looks like this for you too. Tama ba? Parang, do you think of your life in that way as well? I hope that at some point you get to practice that and trace which person led you to which part of your career where you are now. All right. So again, building rewarding connections. I guess it's not something that everybody likes to do or even sees as a positive thing. Most people might even see it as something that they fear or they get very anxious about. So if you go around and ask people, di ba, parang, or ask people what they understand of the word connection, some of them might think, ay, yun yung multi-level marketing, di ba? Parang medyo stressful ata yan, may gamitan na nangyayari, di ba? It's kind of medyo mahal to build a connection. You have to give and you have to make, di ba, binubudol ka ng mga kaibigan mo, sumali sa kung ano-ano. It's extra work. Yeah, and people don't see how rewarding it can be. Sometimes all they see is the work behind it, or the hassle. So if you get around to talking to most people, parang I find that it's not something that a lot of people do actively. So do you guys do this actively? I wonder. I know that some of you are also networkers here, but if you are not naturally networkers, that's okay. I hope that you can start thinking about it. All right. Kasi para sa akin, connections are super duper rewarding and positive, diba? Yes, there are negative parts to it or negative associations. We always think somebody's out here to sell us something or to try and convince us to believe something. But really, if you know who to look for, if you know what kind of people to associate yourselves with, and to what kind of relationships to grow, then you will really find that it's more positive than anything. There's a lot of support, friendship, love, mentorship, understanding, meaning, purpose that goes on. And I love also this term energy exchange, because what's this? It's true. If you give and take in a relationship, it's you get so much out of it. And you realize it can be natural as keeping a friendship or taking care of your family. And you don't have to do it every day. So there are some practical tips I'm going to share later that might be of benefit to you if you are not doing this already. Okay, so for me, connections are really the most rewarding resource you will ever invest in your career. So let me know if you agree with that or not. But I firmly believe this more than Udemy or Coursera, more than, even going to school. Like for me, school is about the people you meet, more than entering an internship. An internship is about working under somebody really inspiring. So these are all people. And, connections can be useful and purposeful if you give and take. But the best connections really are often inspiring, deep, rich, and fulfilling. So no matter how you look at it, it's actually such a positive experience, and you can make it a positive experience. Yes, Jeremy. So thank you for sharing your opinion. I'm glad you believe that it is the most, I guess, rewarding resource you'll ever invest in. Totoo yan, I guarantee. So just to share with you guys, like I think the first time I ever really sought out a connection was with Reese Fernandez. You guys might know her. So when R2R, or Rags to Riches, first started, making social entrepreneurship really um, a big thing in the Philippines, I actually sought her out. So I wanted to positivize for myself, building or growing your connections. I was in the Sangguniang, and then I realized I wanted to meet her. So what I did was I signed up to be her assistant for a day. And I had a very specific intention. It was to introduce myself and say, "Can I be your friend?" And years later, when I was looking for a mentor to teach me marketing and to teach me business, she was the first to come to mind. And without that introduction I had made before, I would have never had that the gall to approach her and say, "Hey, I'm here. Can I please ask you to be my mentor in marketing?" And the third picture is me with her son. And years later, maybe like 10 years after I first approached her, and that was really me approaching her out of the blue, I'm now a ninang to her son. And that's wonderful. Like she even went to my wedding. Ganun na kami ka-close. And that's what can happen when you nurture a connection. And I hope that you guys are actively going to do that from here on. So, why are connections such a rewarding resource? Why do I believe in connections over taking a class? Why do I feel like people at the end of the day are still the best resource? So, number one, dynamic learning. When you go to a person, but it's just they will be able to give you something that you need. It's not necessarily a course that's point one to point 10. I feel like there's a lot of exchange of energy and ideas involved when you are learning through a person. Next, of course, I think we all feel this. Only a person, not a chat bot, not a class, not a YouTube video, can give you support and motivation in the way that only humans can give, diba? And next is diversity of approach and opinion. So a lot of things are laid out for you, but when you build a connection with someone, then you can get so much more out of it. A lot of diversity in approach and opinion, especially if you build many connections. Let's say on the topic of marketing alone, or can you imagine going to different marketers or talking to different people who have different experience? You will get vastly different answers, and you'll get different kinds of wisdom. So importante talaga na Diba? You don't just go to one person, you don't just ask whoever you know right away. It's important to build that network so you can learn from them and even help them at some point. Which leads me to my fourth point, wisdom from experiences. There are a lot of things that books don't tell you. There are a lot of things that YouTube will not tell you, or even TikTok. While content is created, by a person, a conversation is still very different. When you connect with somebody, you can ask very specific questions, and that someone can share, I guess, experiences that they've had that they might want to publish. And this is really what makes the difference between, somebody who it might make a difference between succeeding and like dominating even in your career. And of course, last but not the least, definitely not the least, connections are there to help build this area of trust around you and to help build your image. So imagine if you're applying for work and you need a character reference because you want to get into this company, but it it's just a little bit harder, and that's the reality. You If you had connections, or if you had somebody put a word in for you, not because you are lucky or anything like that, but because you are deserving, then it just gives that person an extra nudge to choose you. So connections really can be the most rewarding resource you'll ever have. So those are like personally my 5 reasons why. And okay, and this is like a part that I really had fun thinking about. What kind of connections do you think we should be looking for? So first, I have a few. I think we should all be looking for our inspiration. So somebody who, you admire from afar. It doesn't have to be somebody that you talk to every day, but somebody whose life and whose journey and whose career you can learn from. So sometimes I ask her, sometimes I read about her, but Reese is still one of my inspirations up to today. And I think we all need that. We all need somebody who can be our North Star and remind us of who we are. Next is a coach. So these are actual pictures of the people that I connect with. So a coach is a person that helps you understand yourself and who helps bring out the best in you through asking you questions and like going deep inside what it is that's in your mind and your heart. So he helps you unveil certain things. So not everybody is meant to be a coach. And if you're lucky enough, if there's a person that can help you maybe get better at either a sport or your work, then this is one of the most important connections that you have. Like I personally, for the first time in my life, have a coach, and it has made the biggest difference. And the coach is actually a friend of somebody I know. So very, very important that you ask around if you do have connections to coaches. My third is a mentor. So mentors are very specific to certain fields. So my field is marketing. I really love marketing, and I sought out myself again a mentor. And what he does is more aligned with what I want to do, and I think it's really important that everyone here, start looking for that. Let's say you're interested in IT, then find a mentor for IT. And if you don't know anyone, then ask and meet people until you can join forums, etc. This will make the biggest difference in your career later on. Okay, next is an expert. So sometimes you don't necessarily need a 100% or you don't have 100% alignment in, like, let's say your career. A mentor is somebody that can teach you or help you grow in a specific field, but every now and then it would do us well to consult an expert of something that you're interested in or that can help you in your career. For example, advertising and marketing are related to communications. I am not a reader or I'm not a writer, but whenever I need insight and help from somebody who's really good at it, I consult my friend and my colleague who is an expert, such an expert at what she does. And then you also have peers. So peers are people that you grew up with and they're people who you grow with. And it's really good to have people who will check up on you too, and be, I guess, that will help you push yourself, and someone you can watch over. So I think people who make good peers are those who are already your classmates or people who you work with. And then, of course, last but not the least, you need a cheerleader. Although, these are not mutually exclusive roles, but I think it would be great if you, as part of your connections, you have somebody who really understands what's going on in your life and what you go through, and can, at the end of the day, cheer you on or tell you it's time to rest, right? So these are a few of the connections that you need. And, kulang to. Sa totoo lang, you can have so much more. You can also have multiples of one. Like, I think Meryl is one of my not just peers but also cheerleaders, and actually, someone in your life can be a cocktail of everything here. But please seek out these connections. So I see my husband in the chats asking if wala tayong mas recent na photos. I'm sorry. I wanted to show a photo of when we really started to connect. Okay. All right. So let's go to seeking out and building connections. I think there are a few steps that we can all take. So number one is getting to know yourself, identify your personal purpose, passions, and interests. So do you guys know who you are? If not, then it's okay. That's always a changing thing. You have to start thinking about it. So the second thing is, sorry, I can't see. Hold on. Oops. Hold on. Second is exploring opportunities. So you really have to go and then do it yourself, really. Find online orgs, internships, freelance work, things that will help you get to your destination. Webinars, Facebook groups, communities. And of course, the Pass a Job market can help you find these opportunities as well. So step 3, you need to connect with people. It doesn't stop at joining those groups. There's so many ways to connect these days. LinkedIn is a professional network, but more often than not, it's easier to connect on a personal level through Facebook, through Instagram, through even TikTok or Clubhouse. I'm not on all these platforms, but I'm surprised to have met a lot of new friends and people, even on TikTok. And lastly, sorry, hold on. Cultivate relationships. So cultivating relationships, it goes beyond liking or introducing yourself. When you get to this level and you know who you really want to nurture or which relationships are super meaningful, then this is the point where you care, you give and take, and you appreciate. The more genuine the relationship you have is, not just the better for you, but also there's something that maybe they can learn from you as well. And we're going to go into each one a little bit more. So the first is getting to know yourself. Do you guys know the concept of ikigai? It's one of my favorite concepts. And I know this is the Western version of ikigai, but it is defined or used, at least in personal development, as your reason for being. It's the intersection between what you love, what the world needs, what you got paid for, and what you're good at. And just to share with you, this is what I think my ikigai is, and I update this all the time. I happen to love building and growing brands, fitness, wellness, nutrition, and beauty. So this is something that is a little bit updated. The world needs people who can manage things and put things up. I happen to, in my maybe 7 years of working, have gotten good at starting and running businesses. I'm really good at the beginning of things and maybe business strategy too. And I could get paid for entrepreneurship, and all businesses are on the lookout for general management and marketing. So this happens to be my ikigai. And looking at all of this, when I put this all together, it now helps me think about what kind of connections might be more nourishing to help me find this. So I definitely need a mentor for marketing, which I found. I looked for inspiration on the other entrepreneurs. I've also had a mentor for business strategy. So just try to do this for yourself too. Okay, step 2 is to explore opportunities. So just to share how I got into the fitness space and how I'm continuing to grow there. So my ex-boyfriend, now husband, is actually a super duper fitness buff. He got me into this world, and because of that, I enrolled in a spinning class. Because of that, I loved it so much. I joined the studio as a part-time spinning coach, where I met my partners, and they are they have made me a part-time entrepreneur of a small business, which I enjoy a lot. And this small business has led me to do two more things. It has allowed me to meet more people in the jump rope industry, and it has allowed me to find a gig as a full-time marketing consultant elsewhere. And then because of that, now I'm now thinking ahead, and it will give birth to many opportunities, such as being a part-time TikToker, and even I guess I'm sure now that I want to be an owner of a health and wellness YouTube business one day, retail business one day. So it's funny how one connection can lead to another, especially if you open your mind to opportunities. You have to my advice is to try and keep saying yes at first. And, if you don't like it, it's always easy to say, okay, I'll try next time, or I won't do it. But keep your mind and your heart open, and try not to see the hassles first. Okay. Step 3 is connecting with people or ideas for openers. This is what you can do. First, you can ask questions. You can give compliments to the people that you introduce yourself to. You can share interests. You can find common connections. Ay, kilala ko si ganyan, di ba? Or you can even come in and introduce yourself with a special offer, especially if you know that something fits. And of course, you can just come in and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm your fan, which is what I did with Reese. So these are just openers, but you'll find that most people really, really appreciate just being approached, especially if you're approaching somebody with positivity. So just try your best to find that in. And then you can do it online, right? And then step 4 is cultivating relationships. But not all relationships need cultivation all the time. The first I guess, kind of relationship that you have to cultivate right now, because it's in front of you, is one that's going to help your work and career. So in line with that, you might have to start looking for mentors and coaches. The second kind of relationship would be strategic affiliations or experts. You don't need them all the time, or you don't need them most of the time, but when the time comes, you might want to tap their expertise or ability. So it's always nice to meet experts in certain fields. So third would be, do, if there's time, maybe something that's not so strategically aligned, but something that you enjoy. So, I guess an example of this is, I don't want to be a full-time TikToker, but something I enjoy. So it's not really related to what I want to do in my life, but I maintain it when I can. And then lastly, don't do ever, or what you should drop are connections that give you anxiety, that make you form bad habits. And this just doesn't apply to connections, but at work it can also apply to friendships. Maybe it's time to let go of relationships that don't necessarily nourish you as a person. And I guess we're gonna, all of these, I hope you consider, because life is really about being around wonderful people and the give and take that you have with that. So just to recap, we're almost at the end. What we can do and how you can start building your connections and building rewarding connections, really. First, positivize it. Know that, yes, it takes a little bit of work, but more than anything, it is an investment for yourself. And before you know it, you're also investing in other people, and for them, it's going to be just super rewarding. Next is identifying the most helpful kinds of connections that you will need in your career. Like I said, not all connections are needed at all times, but you might want to start looking for that one, two, or three people that you think can really not just help you out, but again, you can whose life you can add value to also. And then last but not the least, of course, you have to nurture your relationships. And it takes not just days, but years. Sometimes it might take an intentional effort, but believe me, it is always going to be worth it because, people inherently are so wonderful and so kind. And most of the time, people mean well. So it's always going to be exciting so long as you build and you meet the right people. So, my advice really is for all of you, no matter how old you are, or if you're starting, if you're lost, if you're not sure who you are just yet, start to meet people and try to find time to do it, whether it's through Discord or Twitch or on forums or so home buddies, whatever platform you like being on. It's going to be beneficial to just say, hello, this is who I am, and ask other people what they do, what they're passionate about. Just really connect on a personal level. And before you know it, you'll be talking about more things, more profound things, more professional things too. Because this will always, always come into play when you build your career. So again, connections are the most rewarding resource you will ever invest in, and I truly believe that. And so, because this is true, make sure to surround yourself with the best ones. And it takes years. Like I said, I've been doing it since I was 7. I think I was 7 when I first realized that I wanted to be very intentional about it. And I remember this because my dad would always tell me that you are who your friends are, or you become who your friends are. So you have to really not be selective, but just be aware of how they might influence you and vice versa. And don't forget that it's always an energy exchange. In the same way that you can learn from people and you can be helped by people, it's always very rewarding in a deep sense to be there for other people. So at the end of the day, I guess these connections hit more than just I guess needing to find a job or needing to find someone to help you in your career. Uh, Building rewarding connections at the end of the day is about fulfilling, I guess, deeper things that we need as human beings. It's just the need to connect, the need to be inspiring, the need to be helpful to other people. So I guess that's all I have for today. And I hope that not just I guess in your career, that so at some point you find the time to go to the Pass a Job page or to the Pass a Job website, download the app, and build these connections. Let's help each other find I guess opportunities for other people. But that extends to so many things, whether or not you do this on the platform. If you just do this for yourself, then you are helping society already. So that's it. Thank you.
Yay, thank you so much, Mel, for that. I learned a lot, even if I've known you for such a long time. And personally, one of the things that I learned is that more than your innate ability to establish ties with others, it's actually it helps to make the task of building connections more purposeful and intentional. And I guess that's what makes it a lot more rewarding in the end, diba? And if you have like a little bit of time, maybe are you free to answer just a few questions, if that's okay? So yeah, so guys, if you have questions, just chat them here, or feel free even to unmute yourself and interrupt us anytime. But yeah, siguro also just to highlight what Mel said, I particularly like the segment about being on the lookout for the different rewarding connections you'll have throughout your career, even your life, diba? Because all of that will contribute to something eventually. Nothing is random. I super believe that. And I think Millie's presentation clearly highlighted that. So yeah, so maybe I can start with some of my questions also, some that I listed down while you were speaking. Sige. So actually, parang the nice thing also about this session is I see in our participants, it's not just Gen Zs, there's millennials also. So my older sister is here and my younger brother is in this call also, di ba? So I guess my question is, parang if you're already in the middle of your career and parang people didn't or we didn't start as early as you did in trying to establish these different connections, what's your advice? Parang where do people in the middle of their career start actually networking and not just networking, but to be more specific, building rewarding and meaningful connections?
Oh my God, I hate to be so academic about it, but like, I don't know if you remember the 4 steps that I talked about earlier. So at some point you're gonna change in your career, diba? Parang you're gonna have new interests, and it always helps to, let's say, list down those interests. And sometimes first you want to Google. You want to Google because and that, what I mean by Google is also search among your friends list who you can ask. You'll be surprised to know how passionate people are about talking about a particular interest. So let's say you want to learn how to cook or to be a restaurateur, and you don't have those connections, then you can ask anyone in your life, and you'll be surprised at how many people will be willing to help just because you express your intention. So actually, I want to simplify to that. Like the best thing to do is find the closest person to you that is in that field, and then you'll be surprised at how many other new people he or she will introduce you to. So parang pass a job, like talagang message ka lang ng message because you'll eventually get to the right person. And 100% of the time this has worked for me, lalo na when I don't know anything. In fact, like, the reason why I'm jump roping on TikTok right now is because I posted something. I asked about jump rope. My friend referred me to a friend who referred me to a friend who eventually became my coach. So, grabe, it's like 3 degrees of separation. That started with a question. So just put yourself out there, put your inquiry out there in any platform, and somebody will listen. I hope that helps.
Yeah, super. And I super agree because I think a realization that I also had during this pandemic is that people are actually so generous with their time and their knowledge. And even if they don't get anything out of it, they're willing to help others. So people who post about looking for jobs, or even I think mga groups like Home Buddy started
Yeah.
that way, but people just really seeking out answers, and there are so many people who are just so generous with what they know, so which is an amazing thing. So it's really just helped. I think parang it's not just give and take, and maybe it starts with giving and giving, and then you don't wait for the part where you're able to take, because it will eventually come. I think parang hindi siya agad-agad mangyayari. But like, for example, your relationship with Reese, diba? Parang it was years later na you really got to benefit from it. And siya rin, diba? Yeah,
Oh,
sige.
yeah.
So,
Like, sometimes I feel insecure na parang I'm just taking from this person. But if you really care about people, parang before you know it, you get to know them. And let's say there's a problem that they have and you happen to be able to solve it. Even just, they're sad and they have a bad day and you send over a hug, diba? Parang that's part of building connections. All of it, all of the human experience. And I hate to say that, pero just being human and being a friend is already you doing that.
that's right. That's right. Sige, 2 more questions if that's okay with you, Mil. Sige.
Sure.
So, what is your take naman on siguro feeling maybe half and half ang tao dito, pero I wanted to know what you think about keeping your work and life separate. Diba parang people are saying work-life balance, but there's also work-life integration. So what do you think about this?
Oh my God, that's such an important question. I work with my husband, with my father, with my cousins, with my friends. Okay, I think that first you have to know your I guess how your dynamic is in either the family or the barkada, because it will dictate what kind of relationships you can extend them to. For example, me and my husband, we love to work on things together. So immediately, he's not just my husband. I'm inspired by him. He is sometimes also my peer. And, same thing, you and me. We started as classmates. So I know how you work, you know how I work. It was easy to like say, you know what, Meryl's really great. And I really want her bring her into this opportunity. I think inevitably, especially these days, you will not be able to draw a line between it. It's impossible. And the truth is that the most rewarding connections are those who kind of hit both sides. They are your friend, are also your workmates. Kasi imposible na, di ba, to work right now and to not care about the people you work with. I think we're also headed in that direction where either friend mo muna tapos naging workmate mo, that's less often. Pero hindi na pwede yung hindi kayo friends eh, 'di ba? Parang you must care about the people you work with. I think that even breeds a better relationship with the people that you work with. So I think Jeremy here is saying that I used to think separate work and life, but as I got older, I don't want to separate them. I tend to agree with that, and this is my opinion only. Na you just have to time block and say na it's time for us to be friends. And then, or someone asks me advice, I ask them, do you need my advice as a friend or as your workmate, diba? Parang you can do those boundaries, but at the end of the day, I super believe that you need both sides. And even if you just have a friend that you don't necessarily work with, it might be nice also to ask them about their professional experiences. Before you know it, you have something in common. So I guess what I say is like it's always a blend in different ways, siguro, a different mix for every person that you have.
Right. Agree. I also agree with what Jeremy here said, diba? Parang as a young professional, you'd think na dapat separate. Okay, 6 o'clock, I'll stop working na or something. But then it's really just trying to find that balance. Eh? I guess that's also what the pandemic is teaching us, that finding a balance among all the aspects of your life and prioritizing accordingly naturally, diba? Siguro, okay, so we don't also take much of your time, Mel. Maybe last, if there's one thing you would like the participants here to take away, what is that?
Oh, okay. I hope that you will really nurture the relationships you have. It's easy to meet people eh. Madali lang these days. You add them, you like their photo, diba? Your name will pop up on their feed. But cultivating relationships takes time and takes effort, takes heart. And if you really look at what it is that you want to achieve in your life, let's say, and I hope that's a good thing, diba? It's something that's going to help the world. You will really need people to make that happen. Or sometimes it's somebody else's dream, and you're the person that can help that dream happen, right? So just don't forget to that it takes time. Try your best to care for others as much as you can, and before you know it, you will be doing wonderful things in your career with these great people that you have learned to care about. So I know I'm going back to care because I truly believe that that's the root of all of this. But in order to build rewarding connections, you have to be human at the end of the day. You have to be a friend, you have to be a good wife, you have to be a good teammate. And all of that requires heart. So that's it.